Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host, Pez. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and a great New Year. I know you did, Sauce. It's good to be back away from holidays. We're back at work, getting some stuff out there for the pod.
Good to be back, Pez. I'm glad we had lots of pods during the off-season, as we always promise. 2021, hopefully it is a better year than 2020. Hopefully it means we get some live football. We actually get to go back to the football, fingers crossed, at least in Victoria. And very excited for the new season, Pez.
Oh, I can't wait. When I was tweeting on Twitter at the end of the footy season, everyone's going, oh, what are you looking forward to in 2021? I just want to get back to the footy with some mates and watch some live footy because we were doing that a lot previously to COVID, and COVID meant in front of the TV every single night watching the footy. What's
the all right? You're going back to the footy, Pez. Question without notice. Sorry. Going back to the footy, what's the first thing or the thing that you're most looking forward to out of all the things that you can suggest?
Oh, I already know.
What is it?
As soon as the ball's bounced and then the first whistle's blown, I'm just going to yell out, he's been doing it all day.
Mine is sitting on the wing, and when someone, any player from any team starts running across that wing, going towards that forward line, and you know that feeling where everyone just sort of that excitement just
moves
rises
onto the edge of their seats.
on the edge of the seat.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to. That moment, that first sort of moment once footy's back. I can't wait to get to round one, game one, Richmond versus Carlton.
I don't know how many people are going to be allowed at this stage, but hopefully we can get there. And it doesn't matter how many is allowed. If it's 15,000, 20,000, 30,000. The noise level, I think, is going to be electric before that first bounce of that first game.
Most definitely. We've seen it in American sport at the moment. They're allowing some spectators into some sports. I know the NFL, Buffalo Bills have been on their second playoff win in such a long time, and they only had, I think it was about 13,000 people there compared to their normal 60,000. And the place was unreal, like just being back in the stadium with your fellow team, your fellow supporters, as well as the opposition, and just bringing back that thing that we love the most, Pez, just at the footy, enjoying a couple beers, enjoying the great sport that is AFL, and witnessing greatness.
That's the thing. Speaking of that, we haven't recorded a pod since near the end of November, so it's been a couple of months.
Has been.
And what have you done with your time to fill the void of AFL?
Yeah, not much. I've been watching a lot of the American sports, a lot of the NBA, a lot of the NFL, on holidays, about to finish up holidays, which is a bit disappointing. I've been sinking a couple of beers with some mates, enjoying going out and doing things that are a little bit normal. We obviously are from Victoria, Pez, and been able to go to the pub a couple of times, have a couple of beers here, there. We've gone to a couple of bars, and we've been to a couple of karaoke bars actually.
It's exciting. Good. After this recording of the pod, we're actually going to the pub tonight.
We are going to the pub. Have a Palmer and a pot.
That's gonna be another good one. But
you'll kick me this, Pez. I still haven't had a Palmer and pot since I've been back.
You haven't?
Because every time I've been to the pub, I haven't been in a mood for
food.
So I've just been craving beers. So we'll see how tonight goes.
Those beers on tap though, they are very good. Have had them out of the bottles and cans at the moment. But
what about you, Pez? What have you been doing?
Well, as you know, I messaged you when the NFL playoffs had started, and I'm not the biggest NFL fan, as you know, and I'm like, oh, who do you think will win this game? Because I just want to watch some sport. I've got NBA. Some days there's 12 games of NBA. Some days there's 3. So it kind of annoys me when you could even it out a little bit and let me watch more games.
Have 5 games every day instead of like 2 and then 20 and can't watch it all at the same time.
You can't watch them all, but a bit on replay, and been getting into the Big Bash in about the last week because it is a long season, the Big Bash, and it's still not going to be finished. It's going to move into February even. So hopefully the final series in that's pretty good. There's been a lot of close games in the BBL, so I'm a bit skeptical.
You are very skeptical. Every time you message me or we watch it together, it's rigged. It's rigged. And as the beers flow, and the cricket goes on, it gets more and more aggressive. And I know your theory that you think it's a rigged game, but it's been an interesting, the BBL, the development over the last couple of years. It came off and it sort of came out of the gates running, and it slowly slowed down. And I think people are a little bit fatigued with it as for the length of it at the moment, and especially with the Australian team not doing so well. People have sort of lost a little bit interested with COVID, obviously, and getting out and about a bit more. And yeah, I think it's just we're a little bit fatigued from it.
Well, when Australia couldn't be beat back in the day, cricket fans are plenty, but Losing that series to India was, watching that and the two last tests, the Test 3 and Test 4, where India were able to bat out a draw and then they were able to actually steal a win from an unwinnable position. They got out to something like $23 in the odds, which is a very, very long odds for,
juicy.
For a team.
But mate, that's why I want AFL to come back, because all the teams that I support at the moment can't win a game. So I want Geelong's probably the best shot at winning. I follow Minnesota. Speaking of unlosable positions, had to witness that yesterday, up by 14 points with not long to go and lose on the buzzer again.
Yeah, after having 2 free throws to put us up by 4 if they
Could
hit
have
them
iced the
both.
game. Could have
with
iced the
4
game.
seconds to go, missed both, and Cole Anthony goes down and hits a
rookie.
3. And
Where's our rookie? What's he doing?
it doesn't matter. Minnesota are never going to be any good, are they?
Never any good. And Australians not been very good at the cricket lately.
Take that.
That's why I need Geelong back in my life, mate. They're the only consistent thing that I can sort of back in for a win.
And it will be interesting because today, people have asked me, they're like, oh, you want to have some beers tonight? I said, oh, I'm just recording a pod first, so maybe later on. And they've said, the footy's not even on. No. Hey, you're recording a pod. Well, we're recording a pod because it's what the fans want. And they've asked us some questions and we've chosen a few of those questions, Source, and we're going to go through them and have a bit of discussion about each one. And we don't only have the questions we're going to be asking tonight, but we've got a bit of a bank that we're going to get through over the next few weeks until the AFL season starts.
Yeah, because I guess this is our pre-season, Pez. Just like all the AFL teams have gone back to their pre-season, sweating up, doing their time trials. I've got my my 6-pack out, Pez. You got your 6-pack out. We're going to do the Lou Williams challenge and try and work through these pre-season questions. Get our voices ready, get it prepped for the season so we can deliver to the fans another, fan favourite, another classic.
For those listening that don't know what the Lou Williams challenge is, I'll save you a click from actually looking it up. It's drinking a 6-pack within 20 minutes. It's a very, very hard thing to do, Sauce.
Extremely tough. We have failed a couple times, Pez, but we're getting better. We're getting better. We're up to 4 beers in the 20, and then we don't look very good. But that's why we do the pre-season, Pez. That's why you put in the hard-earned minutes for the pod, so we can make sure we can deliver another great season for our 4th season, and hopefully another successful betting season as well, Pez.
That's it. We do have our little spin-off, the Cheeky Punt podcast show, where we put some bets down and haven't had a losing season yet, which is good.
Touch wood.
There's a lot of wood here.
There's a lot of wood here. All right, well, let's get things started. So as Pez said, we did get some crowd participation. We jumped on Twitter, and if you do want to, or you do are interested in any more questions and finding out some discussion points for us, Pez, where can our fans go?
What is it? Is it at Behind the Bound?
Oh, it's been that long you've forgotten the plug,
At
mate.
Behind the Bound at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want to go.
Jesus,
DM's always open.
See, this is why. Be very careful with the DM, mate. I don't know if any Johnny Patton's fans are going to be sliding into any of your DMs.
Johnny Patton was trying to slide into Behind the Bounds, and we didn't rat him out or anything.
Mate, can I
like
tell a
others.
bit of a funny story, Pez? I just got on the Johnny Patton thing.
You just got a message, did you?
No, you and I were talking about that, in the morning of one of the holidays that we were had the break on, and we were talking back and forth, and you're like, I haven't been able to find any of the pictures that he sent or whatever, blah blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, Pez, just settle down, and I got a new Apple Watch. And we'd stopped messaging, and then later on that day, I was hanging out with my mum, and I'm showing her all the functions, and then you send across Johnny Patton's business in a photo that flashed up on my Apple Watch.
I would never be that irresponsible and do that, because that's not allowed.
Not allowed at all.
So.
But mum's like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, that's just Perry just messaged me. She goes, oh, that's a little bit impressive, but no.
She already knows about that, mate. It's all right.
All right, let's move.
Speaking of mums, I just want to wish my mum a very happy birthday for yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, Mrs. Bez. Here we
That's
go.
it.
Well, definitely glad we're getting the pre-season out of the way, Pez, because it's been some high quality recording here. But let's get into things. We did say that our Twitter followers and our friends on Facebook and our fans of the show have been sending in some questions. If you've got any more that we don't address today, as Pez said, we've got a bank already. We're going to try and get through every club, and so if we don't discuss your club today, send us a question so we can have a discussion. Where do you want to start things off, Pez? Start from the top?
Yeah, we'll go. The first question today is one of the biggest recruits of the off-season is Big Joe Daniher, moving from Essendon up to Brisbane. And the question is, can Joe Daniher fix the Brisbane Lions' inaccuracy?
Yeah, going to be a huge question, and one of those things that we were talking lots about last year anyway, Brisbane's inaccuracy in front of goal. Last year, they led the league in behinds, 175 behinds for the whole year, and they sat about 6 in goals, only kicking 181. I don't say only kicking 181, but when you're leading the league in behinds, it really does ask some questions about their inaccuracy. But I think what Danaher is going to offer the Brisbane forward line is one of the issues that Brisbane had, and we've said this on the show many a times, is when they get in this forward line, whoever is around wherever, their theory is the more you have pings at goal, the more chance you are to have a scoring opportunity. They didn't really have a proper forward structured, and I think Joe Danaher being that towering present, they will be able to, if coached properly, which we know Fagan is a great coach, will be able to develop some sort of forward line that is targeting around him, that will free up Cameron, that will allow some crumbs to happen for Rayner and some of those other little small forwards. And I think it will, because they'll be getting more genuine looks at the goal and less pinging, having random shots from the boundary and just, sort of pinging up there. I mean, there was a game where Neil had 6 shots on goal, none of them through set shots, all through running goals. I think they'll be able to develop more of a structure in there, and something a little bit more structured has to, in my opinion, has to result in more accuracy.
Yeah, well, when you think of Joe Danaher, you think of inaccuracy straight away. So that question's kind of strange, because how is he going to fix it if he's an inaccurate goal kicker? Across his 8 seasons at Essendon, and we know that he sat out a few of the seasons, he didn't play full seasons, he's kicked 191 goals and 144 behind. So not the worst accuracy of a player. And I think, as you're saying, he's going to open up the avenues for Eric Hipwood to get a bit more space, because the best defender is probably going to have to go to Joe Danaher. So Eric Hipwood doesn't get the best defender anymore, so he gets the second. McStay gets now the third instead of the second defender, and it just goes down the train like that. So I think that Joe Danaher will definitely improve, and Brisbane Lions will be focusing on that anyway. The hurt from that prelim finals loss, when they were so close, they had the perfect opportunity to win a premiership during COVID, because they played almost every game up at the Gabba, and the grand final was actually at the Gabba, and they missed an opportunity there to have their home fans having a look and having them see them win a premiership. That would have been one of the most amazing things for those Queensland supporters up there, but weren't able to do it, so they'll be hungry this year. Joe Danaher is apparently fit and firing. Let's just hope that he stays interested, because when he came back for Essendon, you could see the interest wasn't really there. He popped up and kicked 4 goals here and there, and he can be a match winner if he can stay on the park.
Yeah, I think you're really correct there. His genuine talent is not in question here, because we know that he gives himself more opportunities to actually get the pill and have a shot at goal. He's bound to kick at least half of them, and that's sort of what he does. He isn't an accurate forward, but the delivery is going to be a lot better. The ball's going to be coming in there a lot. When Brisbane are up and running, that ball was coming in fast and hot, and they're going to have 3 genuine forwards there, because you also got the development of Big O down there as well. Big Oscar McInerney, and that'll give them 3 sort of big forwards there to work around. And you're right, the number 1 defender has to go to him. Cameron Rayner is one of those sort of those forwards that can pop up, and he has been touted as that sort of smaller forward to be able to do that. So he's going to be able to run loose. Charlie Cameron. He was normally taking your number 1 defender down there, and he's going to be allowed to run wild as well. So it's going to be a very interesting development. Lincoln McCarthy down there as well, snopping up for a couple of goals.
Very strong. They've got a lot of people that can run through there. Brisbane's one of their strengths last year was kicking goals from the midfield as well. So I think that they'll change it up a little bit, and they'll lower the eyes heading into forward 50, and that should increase their accuracy in front of goals, because whenever they got in stride 50, 40 metres out on the run, they were just taking pings. And who was it? Hugh McCluggage, Lachie Neale, a lot of behinds last season. They lower the eyes. They hit up one of those leading forwards, first, second, third, doesn't matter who it is. If Joe Danaher's a decoy, he's a decoy, and their forward line will still run good. As
you said, you've got to give the number 1 defender to him, you would say, and if he's not performing, the number 1 defender goes to the person who is performing. Well, then you've got Joe Danaher is on the next defender, and hopefully, as you said, that they establish a game plan for Brisbane's sake and Brisbane supporters, because, as you said, very big missed opportunity last year. They've got the talent there. Their forward line is very damaging. They've got the reigning Brownlow medalist, the winner. Their back line is pretty deep as well. They would be expecting top 2 finish and hopefully a grand final berth, especially with this forward line. So Fagan needs to put it together on the park, get a really, really strong game plan based around a forward line, and that was their only issue last year, is their inaccuracy. Otherwise, we'd be talking about a Brisbane team knocking off Richmond.
Yeah, and they would have beaten Richmond that night. They lost by about 40 points. It was 40 plus, and they should have easily won that game, but their inaccuracy did cost them. So Can Joe Danaher fix the Brisbane Lions' accuracy? I think he can. He improves them. But there still are some other strong teams in the competition to fight with. So it's not all we get Joe Danaher and we win the premiership. They've got to work hard for it, and they've got to continue to improve their game.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, second question. Port Adelaide supporters will be happy about this one. Ken Hinkley during the break was rewarded for Port Adelaide's amazing season and finishing top and, one win away from a grand final berth with a 2-year extension to his contract. He's been at the club since 2013. He's had a reasonably successful tenure there. Pez, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts, not only on the extension in general, a 2-year contract. First, before we get into the 2-year contract business, is it a good signing or a bad signing, considering that that was the make or break? That's what that's Koshi came out and said, that they need to be a genuine contender for him to keep his job. They've done that. What do you think?
Bad signing. Definitely a bad signing, because whenever you extend a coach, and if you're an avid listener of the pod, you will know my thoughts on this. If you extend a coach when you don't need to, it is a bad move. I don't care who the coach is, because no one else is in the running for Ken Hinkley. No one's going to steal him away from you. Let him finish off his contract. Let him see how he goes in 2021. And then if he's going good, re-sign him for another year or another 2 years. There's no reason to re-sign a coach for, in an extension. We saw St Kilda make that mistake. I was harping on about that for a whole season, and it put them behind by at least 1 or 2 seasons. So just because they're going well and they tracked well, during COVID, they played a lot of games at home. They enjoyed the hub up in Brisbane. Can you really go off that and say, all right, they're going to be good? They're going to be travelling a lot more next season to places like Melbourne, Western Australia, Sydney. They're going to be going around everywhere. They are going to be playing their games at home, and they should be able to win those games at home. But is their list really improving? Is their development happening? I'm not too sure. I just hate extensions of coaches.
I just think I agree with your 2-year plan. I don't think that anywhere above a 1-year plan, unless your person has won a premiership coming off the.
Oh, I'll extend anyone.
You win a premiership, on your first year, for example. If he'd won the premiership this year, hey, you gift him 2 years just on thank you for winning us a premiership. He did do a lot of the hard yards here, but you look at their last, look at since he's been at the club. So they've made 2 prelims since he's been there, back in 2013 when they came from 7th.
14, I think.
2014, sorry, when they came from 5th. And last year they made a prelim as well where they finished top. Before that, they finished 10th, 5th, 10th, 9th. Right, not a great sort of run, and I guess the biggest thing that I'm looking at is what's a pass mark for them. Now, they've given him a 2-year contract. Now, if you give him a 1-year contract, you can be really clear about what the pass mark is. So, what's a pass mark for Port Adelaide? What's a pass mark for them?
After finishing on top?
Top
prelim?
2, top 4.
Top 4.
Top 4 prelims. So they've got to finish top 4. I would say that they'd have to they won their first final, so that's
they've got to play in a prelim.
Got to play in a prelim. If he doesn't make that,
He's still got another contract.
He's still got another year now, and that's where I think if you gave the 1 year, hey, you know what? We were 50-50 on you last year. We said that there was make or break. You have delivered. Here's another 1-year contract. Do it again. Now, you don't know what's sort of coming back from Hinkley, where they're saying, you know what, you guys either give me 2 years or I'm walking out the door. That list is good enough. And I don't think Ken Hinkley, no offence or anything, I don't think he was the main reason for that team's success. It was the development of those young players. You're going to get a lot of those young players back that they sort of suffered injuries towards the end of the season. So they're going to have a good list anyway. He's been there for 8-9 years. Well, he's been there for 7 years. So, he's going to be there 9 years at the end of the tenure. It would have been a great opportunity to give a 1-year contract to him and say, hey, make or break, you deserve a top 2 finish or a prelim. Well, actually, no, sorry, a prelim and a grand final berth. If not, our list is young enough that we can throw in the towel, get a new coach, and review.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying if you don't extend him, you have to sack him at the end of that.
No.
Because if he performs,
go another one.
You give him another one. He earns it, and you've got to have that fire as a coach. Ken Hinkley's not going to be the guy that go, I've got a 2-year extension. I can just settle and go from here, because coaching in the AFL, very, very tough job. He's coached 8 full seasons, and only half of those seasons has resulted in a finals berth. But no season he has finished lower than 10th. Mm-hmm. So they've always been in contention for the 8, never finished lower than 10th. You'd have to say he's a decent coach of what's been happening.
Most definitely.
They finished first with 14 wins last season in a shortened season. So only 3 losses during the season, which was a very good year, but they disappointed in the finals.
They were disappointing in the finals, and but for them, hopefully, in a season, if it was any season that you were going to be disappointing in it, it's not a bad season to be disappointing. Yeah, like again, they had the advantage of finishing the top 4, so they did have the advantage of them actually having a home final. They came up against a in-form Richmond side who would have gone to win the premiership. Then they were a little bit unlucky in their next sort of weeks, but that's what happens when you've got young teams playing in that sort of big thing. They're going to have finals experience now. They're going to get a lot of, as you said, they're going to get at least half of their games in Port Adelaide, which we'd say would be a win. Their fixture is going to be a little tougher though, because they did finish top. And that's with this, this weighted fixturing, that's going to be the question. So I agree with you 100% solely. I don't understand why the fascination with coaches, especially if you sack him, you have to pay out the next year anyway. Like, why would you invest that money?
You're not going to risk it.
Exactly right. Why, as I said, unless you're you're rewarding for a premiership, and even then, if they're at the end of their career, of someone like Geelong, if Geelong had won there, then you're not going to give them another 4 years. Thompson or whatever. Thompson. Not going to give Scott another 4 years, because his list is an old list, so he's not going to go back there next year. Hey, there's one more year as a thank you, and we'll see how you go at the end. I don't understand why clubs want to continually do these massive contracts, and this is only a small one. But
unless someone's trying to poach your coach and other teams are after them and they need security to stay, and you've had that discussion and you've discussed your list beyond being in the premiership window, where are we going to go? Are you prepared to do a rebuild when we get to that stage? If I'm going to sign you for 4 years, our premiership window might only be open for 2, and then we have to start rebuilding. Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to make the hard calls and do all of these things? So those discussions need to happen, but extensions, when they're not needed, hate them.
Yeah, most definitely, Pez. I just don't understand it. As you said, I don't think anyone's really going to be chasing Hinkley if he was... he's a good coach and stuff, but he's been a consistent coach. That's about it. He hasn't... he's had a couple of seasons up in here where he's sort of surprised a few, where they finished 5th, but again... Outside last season, the highest they finished was 5th. So still had the one top 4 finish in 8 years.
Yeah, and that's probably not acceptable in the end. It's, I don't like that at all.
No. All right. One of the questions we had from one of our viewers, we had a couple of North supporters actually jump on the old horn, mate. We had Dan Meaney, James.
We still got North listeners.
We still have them. I don't know. They obviously must tune out just like they do when they're watching North Melbourne play, because
I'm about to tune out for this question.
No, this is a great question, Pez, because for the last 5 years, you and I have been calling that North Melbourne needed to hit the reset button. They have finally done it. They've gone all in on a massive rebuild. I guess the question that's come in the most is about, will North's clean-out achieve its desired outcome? Now, Pez, put aside our rubbish thing then about them moving to Tassie for 2 seconds, because they have taken the right step in setting themselves up for success. But what is it going to work? This full rebuild, my goodness, can't even speak, but is that going to set them up for success?
Is it going to work? It's something that has to happen. We've been calling for it 4 years. I've definitely been calling for it every single week. And they got rid of 11 people delisted. They traded a couple away in Ben Brown and Sean Higgins. Ben Brown to Melbourne and Sean Higgins to a contender in Geelong. And they've just pretty much done a sweep. We've gone, all right, we're finally going down. We're going to keep these players. We're delisting 11 players, Source. It's unheard of. And to do that, they're going through a full rebuild. Reece Shaw, unfortunate circumstances, ended his tenure as the coach of North Melbourne. So he's gone. So it's a full clean-out coach, 11 and 2 traded as well.
Yeah, so 14 new faces have entered the club. And what I like what they've done is they've actually, some of the players that they've gone and recruited, and mainly they're going to the draft, but they have recruited young. They've recruited Jaden Stevenson from Collingwood. They've recruited, I always struggle with his name, Abu Bosnavagia from another tall
Collingwood.
From Collingwood. So those 2 players, they took advantage of Collingwood's books and have grabbed some really great young stars with potential. That fits the timeline for North if they're doing a rebuild, which is something they probably haven't done in the last couple of years. Fit the timeline with the list development. As we said, they should have done this rebuild 5 years ago. They snuck into a couple of finals. They got lucky in a couple of wins, and they topped up the talent, and the rest of the list wasn't there.
Yeah, and definitely shouldn't have. And speaking to a few mates across the years that do go for North, they always thought they're in contention for top 4 and everything. Never finished in the top 4, but did finish in the final 4, making those couple of prelims. 4 or 5 years ago? But it was false hope, losing those prelims by 10 plus goals, and just as you said, re-getting all those older players to come in. They got those players from Port Adelaide, the Jasper Pitter, the Polek. It just didn't work, and they do need to go in the draft. They've cleaned it out. They've gone there. They will be the worst side in the competition, which isn't news to anyone. So the rebuild isn't going to work in 1 year. So hopefully the North fans out there do understand that a rebuild does take time, and you need to give them a few years. Hopefully they're just looking for some talent. They're looking for some players to pop up and play some really good games, get a few wins during the season. Jaden Stevenson, I really like him as a player. He, for whatever reason, fell out with Nathan Buckley and wasn't played in the forward line where he could kick his goals and get on the lead. He was a really good first half player. I don't know if he fatigued towards the end in games and things like that, but Buckley played him on the half back line during the second half of the season when he was actually in the side and not omitted, and it just didn't work for him. So I think he is a forward. I think he's a lead up type one and can get a bit of space. So going to North, you're probably not going to get the ball, but yeah, good luck to him.
No, but what I like is, Jaden Stevenson, for whatever reason, as you said, fell out of favour. I just hope that when North have recruited him and they've got him, that he has had some trouble off the field, and I really hope that North Melbourne's, lack of, I guess, facilities and depth and probably established culture there, hopefully that doesn't, that allows him actually to play the best football that he can. What I do like is that they targeted clubs that their young players couldn't get a game. Like, they went and got Lockie Young from the Western Bulldogs, so he'll play off of the back line. He'll be, fit in there again with that sort of that time that we're talking. Aiden Core. They've got, picks number 2 and 11 coming in. Flynn Perez. One of your mates, mate, Flynn Perez. He probably won't start at the start of the season, but for me, a desired result for them for this season, he would be able to play at least half the games, you would say. Get some experience, hopefully playing a couple of wins. Jaden Stevens, Cam Zerha, Jack Zeeble, you'd be expecting them to pop up for at least averaging a couple goals a game. That's a big win for them. So I think it will work in its desired outcome. You said they're going to be down the bottom of the ladder, so they're going to get another crack at the draft. They went and, at the end of this year, they'll probably have to get rid of some of those players that they sort of hung around to. They sort of, what was it? They topped up with a couple of years ago, that Pollock and that Anderson. And they've got some good emerging stars in Luke McDonald, who probably had a breakout season last year. He could probably make a case for an All-Australian, as a defenseman. So it's promising. I think it will work as long as they stick to the plan. The problem is when teams go down the bottom and they do a rebuild, Pez, is that they have so much pressure from the media, from their supporters, fans, yep. the commentary box. This is a 5-year plan. They've just gone out of the draft and they didn't even get the best kid in the draft, right? Because of that ridiculous the academy stuff. The Western Bulldogs bloke got the number 1 pick, so they're starting their rebuild already on the back foot. Now next year you would expect them to get another top 3 pick. Putting those games into those young fellas and not worry about the outside noise. We know that they're not going to be good. We know that they're probably going to lose by big margins. All you want to do is get experience into those young legs, build a really good community, and build a place that in 3 years, that's when you bring in that experienced player. Just like the Gold Coast are now with, bringing in Alice. Boom, perfect. Right when they're about to win, right when they're about to take off, that's what your members want. Your members don't mind putting through some hurt and some pain and some bad losses, as long as you stick to a plan and you are transparent with your members and you have a direction that you're going.
I want to add to the fans' questions on this one for North, because I'm thinking they are. I think that North in 2021 will get more fans to their games than they did in 2020.
You're an absolute flog. We were doing so well with not having a crackpot, mate, and you just went in there and had a red-hot crack at them. It's not on. North Melbourne fans, yes, I do think it will be a desired outcome for them, as long as they stick to the plan. And North Melbourne supporters, you have to sit there and you can't jump on social media and start bashing North Melbourne. You got to be there. You got to support the kids. You got to continually to build a really great community, because let's be honest, North Melbourne is one of the teams that is on the fringe being in the league and not being in the league. If the AFL see them and apply the pressure and they walk away from this rebuild, then they're going to be in a worse situation than they will be in 3 years if they stick to it.
Going to be in Tassie. That's a worse situation with the win over there. But what all fans want from a rebuilding team is effort from the players. The skill errors will come. They're not up to it. They're doing all those certain things, kicking inside 50, turning the ball over a lot. It will happen, and they will get a lot of goals kicked on them. They will go on runs. They will get a lot of runs against them, and they'll lose by big margins. But if the effort's not there, that's when the fans actually have a voice and can come out and be like, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah. But as you said, Pez, though, fans don't mind that as long as there's effort. And if you are putting effort into, if you're putting young kids on the park, you're generally going to get effort. It's the more experienced players that you don't get the effort from. They've still got an elite ruckman there, so they're going to get a fair look at the pill. Todd Goldstein will be able to give them.
Toddy.
He'll be able to give them
Sure
first look at the pill, though. And that's what you need as a midfielder. As you said, those mistakes will come, those skill errors will come, but they've got Stevenson down there, they've got Cam Zerma, they've got Cunnington in the middle. They've got not a bad little core.
Yeah, Goldstein's their second best midfielder as well.
To at least be consistent. Okay, now there's weeks they're going to get absolutely trashed, but for them to build consistency into their game plan. At the moment, the number one concern from North Melbourne last year was what the hell were they doing? They didn't have a game plan. They just kicked the ball. It was kick to kick. Take the time. They got a new coaching to change. They got a new list. Put into an effort and stick with the plan. Stick with the rebuild. Build some consistency.
Believe in some of these young guys that you see and put them in. Get games into them. And 2 or 3 years, we might be talking about North getting out of the bottom 4 and finishing 15th or something like that. Or 14th. That'd be really good.
Absolutely. All right, Pez. Your time on the podcast, I might take a back seat because we did get a question with St Kilda.
And it wasn't me.
Yeah, with St Kilda heavily recruiting over the off season and being a bit of a destination club, it was very interesting to hear because St Kilda have not been a destination club. They've always been mentioned in the talks just to bump the price tag up. They're like North Melbourne that's always involved in everything.
Do not put us in the same basket there.
All right, Pez, what was the question that came from the fans?
So after being very active in the last 2 off seasons, where do the Saints sit with their list heading into season 2021?
Yeah, so they went out and got big recruits. They got Brad Crouch, which is an absolutely amazing in and out midfielder that they sort of build some depth in there. Jack Higgins slots straight into that side, you would say. Pez, I'm going to hand it straight over to you because this is your love child.
Yeah.
Does it get it done?
Oh, it improves them, definitely. Brad Crouch, I think his disposal does need to be worked on. At least we'll be able to tell who Brad and who Matt is next year because they're not going to be in the same team.
You'll still lose your bet on them.
Sean McKernan comes in as well as like a third string just for injuries, I think. I don't think he's going to be in the best 22, but if Paddy Ryder does go down, he's going to be coming in as a backup ruckman there. So 2 recruits this year, 5-star recruits the year before, playing with the season together. They were also able to keep Jake Carlisle, who was out of contract, which no other clubs jumped up and got him, and I think he can be a very good defender as the second or third guy. He used to be a big interceptor, but now I think he needs to take the second or third guy, with Dougal Howard taking the best defender. Saints won a final last year. So what's a pass mark for them with new recruits, big things on them? I think they need to win a final again, finish somewhere between in the top 6. I am a St Kilda supporter, so I'm not going to come out and say they must finish top 4. I know a lot of people will be saying that, but I think they need to finish top 6, win 1 or 2 finals to be a pass mark. And if they can make a prelim and do something special and gel somehow, I think one player and one recruit that needs to pull his finger out and get a big move along is Bradley Hill. Mm-hmm. He's very good with the footy in his hands, just doesn't get it enough. I don't know if it's St Kilda not giving him the ball enough. He can't get his own hard ball. I don't know if he needs to, can you even improve that? Improve your hardness to go and get the footy. He's an outside runner.
But I think the inclusions of Brad Crouch and Hanbury having an actual full season, getting games into it, that will improve his toughness with there because the pack won't be as hard to go into. There won't be as much cluster around there because those blokes go in there, they get the pill, they'll allow to create a bit more space for them. He looked amazing in that preseason, but what happens in the preseason is the intensity is not as high. And that's what's concerning. So he does need to get a move on with that. And you are right. Can you improve the toughness? No. But situational, he can improve the situation that he is in to make it at least appear like he's going in harder.
You get that footy. I think the age demographic of this list is very, very good. I mentioned Dougal Howard, Ben Patton, Cal Wilkie, the accountant from South Australia. He's done really, really well down there. Doesn't get spoken about a lot in the media, but a very solid defender. Hunter Clark, one of my favourites. Dan Butler up forward. Max King, still very young. Jack Billings, he's one as well. So Brad Hill, Jack Billings, They need to have really, really good seasons. Jack Steele needs to continue. Zach Jones, stay on the park for a little bit longer. Seb Ross, what's his role? He's not going to get 30 touches like he used to anymore. He might get his 15 to 20 and just maybe needs to improve his disposal a little bit. Ben Long, very tough at the footy, but can't afford to get suspended like he has been. And I think they're very versatile. They've got every aspect covered. They just don't have those absolute out-and-out superstars. They've got Jack Steele, who's probably in contention for a Brownlow medal, but they don't have those other midfielders that are up there. So if someone can pop up and improve a lot, and they can really make a charge for the top 4 if the fixture goes their way and they're able to stay away from injuries.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think that the list that you've got on paper there, you're right. You don't have any out-and-out superstars, but you have enough talent to help win games, obviously, but then also build the those young stars that you spoke about, Hunter Clark, Jade Gresham, getting some more time in that midfield for them. We saw when they actually came into the midfield, they looked really good. And I think those older bodies there and the more experienced bodies will allow you guys to be more aggressive in building consistency. Because one of the issues that you had with St Kilda, and we saw it in the last final, Pez, is that they are a really great side for patches in games. But when they fade out completely, and they just don't look like they're on the park at all, and it's quite concerning.
Yeah, and the big thing that's concerning is Paddy Ryder did his hamstring in the last minute or so against the Bulldogs in that first final. And if he can't get fit and firing and go, because he was absolutely a superstar ruckman for them as 32 or 33 years of age, if he can stay in the park all season and including finals, I think it makes them a much stronger side. But if he goes down and you have to put Rowan Marshall as your first ruck and Sean McKernan comes in off the bench as your second ruck, it just weakens the team a lot. Big call as well. The captain from last season, Jaron Geary, I don't think he's in the best 22 anymore.
I mean, he sort of flirted with being in the best 22 last year before you had these recruits. He came back in after his injury and he performed here and there, but I think he is no longer that walk-up start, and I think he's really going to have to improve on the training track. As well as that, though, I think he might start to move into more of this senior leadership role. And apparently he's very respected around the club, and they love him as a leader there, but it makes it tough to be a captain of the club when
if you're not going to make
can't get the game. So
because I think that they've played him last season as a forward in some games, notably against Carlton and Western Bulldogs to lock down someone. But with Jack Higgins coming into that forward line as well with Dan Butler, I don't think there's any room for him down there. With Caulfield improving, Ben Patton, Callum Wilkie, Jake Carlisle, Dougal Howard, I don't think there's room for him down back either.
Well, I think Higgins and Geary will probably, they'll probably fight for each other's spot some weeks, because whilst Higgins did have that breakout season in his first year, he really hasn't delivered a consistent, outstanding approach. We're touting him as a young star because, he's already got a premiership medallion and he was very electric in that first couple of years. But since he's sort of he's returned from injury, he hasn't been as electric and as, you'd put him over Geary in terms of, age and expectation and potential, but Geary will be able to fight for that spot, and hopefully that can light a cracker up, Higgins, and get back to some of that best in his early years.
It's one of the hardest things in footy when there's a couple of people fighting for the same spot and people miss out every year in a grand final, but it's one of the best problems to have as a coaching staff
100%.
At a club. It's always heartbreaking story for those that just miss out, but you know what? If you've got it, it's just a luxury.
Oh, what a terrible problem to have. We've got too much talent to get on the field. Jeez, it's better than having the other problem that we spoke about with North Melbourne, where you're looking for talent every week, trying to find
who's going to play,
which young kid you're going to be looking at, rather than
what do they got? 6 walk-up starts or something, North?
Goldstein, we've already done North, but I wouldn't want to. They probably have about 6 or 7, I'd say. Zerha, Zeeble, Goldstein, McDonald, probably
Cunnington.
more actually. Jed Anderson, Cunnington, that's 6. They probably have a couple more.
Pollock.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Maybe. He got dropped last year, but I don't know.
I don't know. All right, let's get on to... Are you done? You finished, mate? You finished your little spiel? I think we went through every player on that list.
I'm done. I kept a few out, but they're improving and they're a young age demographic and excited for it. But
and when they play that brand of footy, Pez, they are really exciting, and they were one of my preferred teams to watch. Obviously, because you and I speak a lot about them anyway. But when they were up and about, they looked like they could knock off anyone.
Yeah, and then they'd give up 5 goal leads in the second half.
5 goal leads. Remember that Fremantle game? That was more than 5 goals, mate.
It was not good.
All right, let's. Speaking of teams that aren't good, let's get on to how will the Western Bulldogs star-studded midfield perform in season 2021? They were one of the teams that probably could have got even stronger across that